thanks, Breeda, for giving the introduction for the PPN there, and thanks, Breed. So my name is Anne-Marie Fuller. I sit on the Secretariat of the PPN, but also I'm the environmental rep. And as part of that role, how did I guess, become the environmental rep for the PPN? Well, I guess my journey started probably like many of yours, in that I became activated as a community activist. My journey probably started in about 2018, or the end of 2018, 2019, when the Intergovernmental Panel on Climate Change came out with a report that said essentially we have 10 years to have our emissions, our carbon emissions, to be able to stave off the worst effects of climate change. And I had been working in this area for a number of years, and I was involved in community groups. I'm a member of the Kerry Sustainable Energy Cooperative, and through being a member of the Kerry Sustainable Energy Cooperative, which is a member of the PPN, I was then able to put myself forward for election to the environmental rep role, and those elections happened about 5 months after the local elections had happened. So in that role, I was very pleased to be elected to it. It's important to have an environmental rep role, I guess, because the environment wouldn't necessarily be a large focus or primary focus of many of the elected members of the council. And that goes for the importance of also having a social inclusion rep on the PPN, because that might not be a sole focus of many of the elected reps. So to have that input and advocacy role into the council decision-making processes is very important. So as the environmental rep, then I was also put forward to sit on the Strategic Policy Committee for Environment, Climate Action and Emergency Planning. And so those meetings happen every few months. There's at least, I think, meant to be between 4 and 6 of those meetings a year. They can shift around a bit, so you kind of need to be a bit flexible, but it's really interesting to sit on them, because if you're interested in local politics and you're interested in getting involved in your local community and making those, helping be an advocate for the decision making, bringing the voice of the community onto those boards, it's an effective role if you're not an elected rep. I should point out that it's not my place to bring my own personal decisions and opinions to those meetings. Whatever I bring has to have come from the community. So through that, I would be then linking in with, they're called the Environmental Linkage Group, and any issues that would have been discussed in Environmental Linkage Group meetings, then I would bring forth to the Strategic Policy Committee. But also any of the members, the member groups are allowed send emails into the PPN at kerryco.ie email address, and I would also then bring those to the Strategic Policy Committees that I sit on. The process, I would like to say, is actually it's been quite fruitful. One of the things that I would have brought forward from the groups is that for maybe when I joined, and even up to 2 years afterwards, we didn't have an environmental awareness officer. Now, I'm sure that would have been brought forward by a lot of other different reps and councillors at the time, but in my capacity speaking for the PPN in those meetings, I was able to raise that issue, and then we're very grateful that we have now, for the last 2 or 3 years, an environmental awareness officer. But through that, we were also able to raise the issue that one of the council workers was doing their biodiversity officer role as a part-time basis. And we were able to stress that we would love to have a biodiversity officer as a full-time position. And now in the last year, we have a biodiversity officer, and we also now have a climate action team, and we have a climate action officer. One of the things that we did as part of it would have been consultations around the climate conversations that came in, that the government brought in. This was a national programme. Kerry County Council, Kerry PPN rather, with Kerry County Council, because we collaborate closely with them, was chosen as a pilot county to run that. So we organised, and this happened through COVID, so we had online meetings via Zoom to meet lots of different member groups who were part of the environmental groups and get their opinions on what are the actions we need to take at community level for climate action and biodiversity action. One of the examples of that was that we said we need to have a county level climate action plan. And here we are now, and it's just been adopted earlier this year, the Kerry County Council Climate Action Plan. So also through the previous year, through the environmental linkage group, and we also spread it out to all the PPN member groups. You don't just have to be an environmental linkage group, because the environment, you know, it interacts with us, or we all interact with the environment. It affects us all. So we would have had an initial consultation on that, where we would have put forward lots of ideas. We organised a big meeting, and then we got a lot of input then from the community groups to come in and say what did they think needed to be in the Kerry County Council, Kerry Climate Action Plan. We submitted that, you know, a number of page document that got submitted, and then the climate action team would have taken that information and combined it with other information they had from different, from the councillors, or also from different areas like the CARO, which would be the Climate Regional Office. So Climate Action Regional Office. So and this would also be, and they would have got information from national government as well and things like that. So then there was a draft proposal then put out for consultation, and again we as the PPN would have organised a consultation meetings where member groups could come in and talk to us about, you know, what were the details of that climate action plan that needed to be addressed, or what did we like and what did we not like. It came out very strongly that a lot of the actions, it was great to have lots of actions in it because we'd already submitted them previously, but maybe the governance area of it and how were they going to actually manage to make sure that these actions were essentially administered and actioned, essentially. So it was lovely to see then in the final version of the climate action plan that there was an added section diagram about the governance of it and how all those actions were going to be actioned and who was going to be responsible for what. So you can see that even though we're not elected, we still, through the PPN, we can still have influence and bring the voice of the community into the council and their decision-making processes and their documentation. So I also sit on, are we okay for time? Yep. As a Secretariat member, I also get to then, I've been selected for maybe the last year to sit on the Local Community Development Committee. And that's a really interesting committee as well, because, and actually there's two parts to it. One is the local action group as well, and one is the LCDC, and there's decisions there made about which community groups get funding for leader funding, and there's different I guess processes that would come through the local development committees about how SICAP funding gets done and things like that. So, and even today we talked about, we got a report from Healthy Kerry. So if you're interested, it's a great way through the PPN to find out a lot more about the processes of what happens in the local council, because there's actually so much work going on in the background. Just, I guess the council workers, actually, they're probably like ducks, you know, they look like that, but their legs are gone like this under the water. You know, there's just so much activity going on, and I would say actually they don't get enough acknowledgement for all the great work that they're doing. It's great that actually as a PPN representative we have a very good working relationship with people in the council, because we're not looking for votes. So, you know, we don't have to be saying things in the papers to try and get things done. And what I would say is it's so important. And you understand this, and it's probably taken me a while to understand it even more fully, but it's the relationships that you build with the people who you work with in the council that, you know, helps you really get things done as well. And I would encourage anyone who's interested in working in local government is to really work on those relationships that you have with the people in the council, but also your fellow councillors, because I'm probably veering off now a little bit, but you know, if you're going to get motions adopted in the council and you want things done, you know, you need other parties to vote with you as well. So I'd say relationship development is very important. And if I can just finish on, so the PPN, we're part of, I guess, the toolkit or the cogs and the bolts of local government. And I really hope all the people who are putting themselves forward here today for election in the local elections get elected. Because the PPN, we would love to work with you. I guess previously maybe there was seen as a competition between the PPN and elected councillors, but really I think we can work really well together to even help, you know, the other elected officials, but also the people who work in the council to get things done, because really we all together have the same objectives. You know, we really want Kerry and our local communities to be, you know, the best places to live and work and play.